صلوات. صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الغارية ما الغارية وما أدراك ما الغارية يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعفن المنفوش وأما من سلوى ولازينه وهو عيشة راضية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. لا يستوي أصحاب النار وأصحاب الجنة أصحاب الجنة هم الفائزون. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. وتلك الأمثال نضربها للناس لعلهم يتفكرون. هو الله والله الذي لا إله إلا هو عالم الغيب والشهادة هو الرحمن الرحيم. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر. المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر. سبحان الله عما يشركون. هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى. يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنتم. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم من مصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين، وجعلنا وإياكم من الطالبين بثأره مع وليه الإمام المهدي من آل محمد. اللهم محمد وآل محمد. All praise to the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who grants us these opportunities in these days of Hussein, in the days of Azza, in these nights that we were able to commemorate. Inshallah, brothers and sisters, we'll proceed with the recitations. Just a couple announcements, just a couple of reminders, inshallah. Tomorrow, as it was sent out, the Amal over here will start at 11 a.m., inshallah. And we will conclude the Amal by Salatul Dhuhrain. We'll offer Salatul Dhuhrain at its prime time. And inshallah, following Salat al-Dhuhrain, we'll have the Maqtal Majlis recited by our respected Sheikh Muhammad Ismail. And then Sham-e Ghariba, we'll start the program at 8 p.m. and we'll conclude it with Salat al-Maghribain, inshallah. Now, regarding, as we have limited parking on site, as you've seen the email, we've proposed 2 parking spots in addition to the IHS parking on the Daniel Avenue. So if you go across around the IHS down this street, that is Daniel Avenue. On that, you can park over there. Again, just make sure that you're not blocking anyone's driveway. Again, these are neighbors. We're respecting our neighbors. Make sure you're not parking on anyone's grass, on anyone's yard, not blocking anyone's car, any driveway. So you can park over there. The other spot is that once you're coming on Bridge Street, the parking that is with the Bridgeport Bridge, I believe it's Bridgeport, the football field, there's a whole parking lot over there. You can drop your family over here at IHS, and then you can go park your car there. Inshallah, we'll have shuttle service. We have volunteers, alhamdulillah. Even inshallah on the sister side, we'll have a volunteer. If they're female drivers or the drivers, we'll just give it to the drivers so that we can maximize the people that we can bring, inshallah, back to the center. So either you come in the morning at the Amal time or at Dhuhrain time, inshallah, we'll try to provide that shuttle service from your car to the Husayniyah, and then inshallah after the program, from the Husayniyah to your car, inshallah. Now proceeding with now I'll make the other announcement, inshallah, before our respected Sheikh, inshallah. So proceeding with these recitations, I'll request Brother Zabihullah to recite poems in the honor of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
به خاطر ارواح شادی ارواح تمام شهدای کربلا صلوات دوم بلندتر ادا بفرمایید. صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. صد نوا خیزد زنای نینوایت یا حسین، نغمه های عشق باشد در نوایت یا حسین. میزند آتش به قلب دوستانت دم به دم، داستان جانگداز کربلایت یا حسین. صلوات و آل محمد. اینجا با پشت خیمه صداها چی آشناست؟ آری صدا صدای مناجات کربلاست. امشب شب نماز و مناجات و گریه است، فردا زمان ملاقات با خداست. از خیمه صدای تلاوت رسد به گوش، این صوت دلنواز علی اکبر از کجاست؟ سوز و دعا و آه و نوا از کجا رسد؟ گویی حسین فاطمه در حال التجاست. انگار این وداع شب آخر است و بس، از هر کسی سراغ کنی کار او دعاست. امشب میان خیمه و سجاده و حرم، فردا به خون خاک سلیمان کربلاست. عباس در قنوت شبش آرزو کند، یا رب مرا ببخش اگر آب پربهاست. سجاد در دعا چه طلب از خدا کند، یا رب تن نحیف من افسوس مبتلاست. زینب دعای نیمه شبش جز حسین چیست؟ تنها نه بر حسین که بر آل مصطفاست. گاهی صدای گریه یک شیر خاره است، لالای دختری است چی دردانه خوش صداست. این نازدانه ها که دل از خیمه برده اند، یا رب قنوتشان چی غریبانه با حیاست. اصحاب آن طرف همه مشغول ناله اند، گویی حبیب فکر کسی پشت خیمه هاست. گویی به گوش زینب کبرا رسیده است، فردا حسین یکه و تنها به نینواست. اصحاب آمدن به دلداری حرم، انگار زینب از سخن سخت در نواست. فردا مگر حسین من ای قوم بیکس است این گونه از غریبی خود شکوه اش چراست. گفتند یا عقیله خدا صبرتان دهد. فردا که گفته یک و تنها امام ماست. ای دختر بتول مگر مرده ایم ما، ای دختر بتول مگر مرده ایم ما. جانهای ما همه قربانی شماست. این گونه گریه های شما را ندیده ایم. والله دیدن غمتان ننگ این سپاست. بانوی ما خدا نکند به حسین شوی. جانهای ما فدای عزیزان مرتضاست. ما را 1000 بار اگر سر جدا کنند، این مرگ در رکاب حسین آرزوی ماست. حالا که هست صحبت اهلی من العسل، زیباترین سخن به لب ابن مجتباست. این گونه است مردن شیرین تر از عسل. حالا زمان پرزدن ما سوی خداست. این صحنه است از شب زیبای کربلا. حالا وظیفه چیست که مشتاق کربلاست. ما را برای کرب و بلا آفریده اند. ما را برای کرب و بلا آفریده اند. یعنی حسین منتظر ما به نینواست. صلوات اللهم.
عظم Allah ujurakum. This was our brothers, Rabihullah. Inshallah, brothers and sisters will be entering into the Shab Ashur, the night preceding the day of Ashura. Indeed, a very tragic night. And just a reminder, tomorrow, the day of Ashura, there wouldn't be any announcements to make. So taking this opportunity, inshallah, we call for donations towards the Muharram fund. If anyone hasn't been able to make, inshallah, there's opportunity to make donations tonight. They can reach out to Sultan Uncle, Brother Azim Anwar on the med side, Sister Tuba on the sister's side. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, inshallah, we'll be having the majlis of Naqtal of the day of Ashura as well as Shani Ghariba. But alhamdulillah, inshallah, after even the day of Ashura, inshallah, the night of the 12th and the 13th, we will have majalis. So in other words, on Wednesday and Thursday, we will have majalis this week. We have moved our Friday night program to the Thursday night program, inshallah. So do make most of those programs. We will have our respected Sheikh Muhammad Ismail addressing the Wednesday majlis. And inshallah, requesting you all, as he has been talking on this topic of echoes of the prophets, the spiritual timeless guidance from Imam al-Hussein, and the Holy Quran, inshallah, we'll be speaking about it. Today, I'll request our respected Dr. Sheikh Muhammad Ismail to talk on the topic of the environmental stewardship, using the example of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. So without any further... Ahsant. So also a reminder, what we had, my apologies that I have been missing out. For any donations that you make, whether it's in the form of the membership, whether you do it towards the Muharram fund, tax receipts are available, inshallah, that can be provided to you, that you can, inshallah, claim towards your tax benefit. So if anyone would like to request or would want the donation receipts, the tax donation receipts that are tax receipts that are possible, inshallah, that can be provided to you. So if anyone, and also the membership forms are also available, so if anyone, inshallah, hasn't filled in, they can do so. Without any further delay, I'll request our respected Dr. Sheikh Muhammad Ismail to address this majlis. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وله الحمد في الآخرة وهو الحكيم الخبير. والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث إلى كافة الورى شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته أئمة الهدى ومصابيح الدجى الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واصنع الفلك بأعيننا ووحينا. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Our Majalis series this Muharram, titled Echoes of the Prophets, Timeless Guidance from Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the Quran, has so far covered 7 echoes, 7 characteristics of the prophets as depicted in the Quran that Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, reflected in his deeds and words. And inshallah tonight we will look at an 8th echo, and that will be environmental stewardship as depicted by Nabi Nuh ala nabiyana wa alihi wa alayhi salam. And inshallah tonight I will seek to answer the following 4 questions. Firstly, what is environmental stewardship and spiritual ecology? Secondly, what lessons can we derive from the narrative of Prophet Nuh on environmental stewardship? Thirdly, how does Sayyid al-Shuhada echo those lessons in his words and practices? And then finally, how may we incorporate the lessons in our lives today? Inshallah, we'll begin our exploration with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So with regard to the first question, what is environmental stewardship and spiritual ecology? Environmental stewardship is looking after the planet. It's engaging and making sure that we preserve the earth for future generations through sustainable practices. So things like making sure that we use renewable energy. We engage in forestation projects. We make sure that we recycle, we don't waste, and we promote biodiversity and ensure that climate change does not get to the high levels that it has reached today. So environmental stewardship is really looking at how we must take care of the planet, all its resources and its beauty for future generations. Just as we are benefiting from them today, other people in the future, our children and their children and so on, should also have the right to benefit from the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without difficulty. This is what we were talking about before, that everything has its rights, and if we are able to give everything that Allah has created its rights, then there will be a harmonious system of coexistence. It's only when people don't give other things, other creatures, its right that people can no longer live in harmony, and that disturbs the perfect order that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has envisaged for his entire creation. So that's environmental stewardship. How about spiritual ecology? Spiritual ecology is a term that refers to the combination of environmental stewardship, looking after the earth and the planet for future generations, with human spirituality, based on the teachings of the Quran and Hadith. So spiritual ecology is taking the environment and putting it with human spirituality based on the Thaqalain teachings, so that human beings and the natural order can live together in harmony and reach its perfection based on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants for it. And so this is a very important topic, and it is something that has its firm foundations in the Quran and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, which I will try and present to you this evening. And just as a point, if anybody would like to know more about this area, I have written an article on this, and it is due to be published in a few weeks' time in the Al-Qalam journal, published by ICARE, the International Center for Advanced Islamic Research. So this is just a reference. It contains much more than what I will be able to share with my dear brothers and sisters tonight, and it will also incorporate some other things that I've mentioned before, particularly with regard to how the narratives of the prophets mentioned in the Quran can really inspire and teach us so many things about environmental stewardship and spiritual ecology. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now I said that spiritual ecology has its basis in the Quran and the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. We saw some things before when we were looking at respecting all of God's creation and some other aspects relating to the environment. But today I'll go into it in much more detail. So just one example from the Quran. The Quran states that everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created is for us. There are many places where He mentions the word sakhara lakum. Sakhara lakum means subservient for you. And He mentions a whole range of creations that have been made subservient for us, human beings. Things like, okay, what we would expect perhaps, like the animals and the natural world that we generally benefit from, but also things like ships that sail through the seas, rivers. He says in another place that the sun and moon have been created for you. The day and night have been sakhara lakum, made subservient for you, and so on. So that's the starting point. In Surah Baqarah, verse number 29, he states very clearly how everything has been created for mankind. Huwallazi khalaqa lakum ma fil ardi jami'a. So He is the one who has created everything on the earth for you. In another verse, He tells us the reason why this has been created. Now this gradually moves us on to the main area of our discussion as to how we can use it to grow spiritually. He says it's all for a test. So in Surah Al-Kahf, verse number 7, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks again that everything has been created for you. And then He goes on to say that it's for a test. Inna ja'alna. He says that we have created ma alal ard, everything on the earth, zinatan laha. It's an adornment for the earth, right? Everything on the earth is an adornment. And it's all for what? لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. So that we may test you. Who among you are best in deeds? This is phenomenal for us to understand in terms of our responsibilities towards the natural world. Why? It's a test. So tests can be either in terms of the blessings that someone has or the blessings that someone doesn't have. If they have abundance, if they have blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the natural world, it's a test that, okay, are we being thankful for these blessings? Are we using them to know Him better? Are we making sure that we use them in a way that pleases Him? And are we using them and are we taking care of them? These are all things that are mentioned in the Quran when he talks about sakhara lakum, all of these things being made subservient for you. Yes, they are blessings, but with those blessings comes responsibility. Responsibility to be thankful, to use them in the right way, to make sure we are looking after them, and to enable us to know Him better. So that's one part of the test. When we are given, what are we going to do? Our reaction is being tested. What about when they are not given, or somehow the person doesn't deserve, or they'll get them later? Whatever the case is, at the present time, that person doesn't have such blessings. Again, it's a test of patience this time. Is that person patient? Is that person still keeping faith and trust in God and not despairing, still doing good deeds or not? So this is what is meant, that everything has been created for us. Yes, brilliant blessings, but it comes with responsibility, and this is going to be tested. So we see how the superpowers of the world are always striving to control more and more of the world's natural resources. How are they faring in this test? Are they passing or not? Well, it's very clear, because if they are using them in a way that will benefit people and increase their spiritual growth as well as their physical, mental, and material well-being, then yes. If not, then they are failing. And so this is something that the Quran is putting forward very, very clearly. What about hadith? I said spiritual ecology is based on the teachings of the Quran and hadith. Quran, absolutely clear, and then we'll see more verses later on as well. Hadith, when I was looking at this as part of my research for that article, I was really amazed as to how many traditions there are on environmental stewardship and looking after the planet. I'll just give you a couple of examples from the blessed words of Rasulul Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam that talk about planting trees. Because before I spent a long time, a whole lecture in fact, about respecting other creatures of God. So we covered many other aspects of the natural world in that lecture. For this part of this majlis, I just want to focus on planting trees. Otherwise, there's many other traditions, but time is limited, and inshallah, it'll suffice to give us an idea of what hadith says about the environmental stewardship role that we all have as Khalifas of Allah. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. When Allah said to the angels that I am appointing on the earth a Khalifa, a representative. This representative is really a steward of Allah for the earth, as well as all the other duties that he or she has. So the first prophetic tradition that I want to share with you, the blessed Prophet says that whoever plants a tree and a human or other creature of God eats from it, that person will have an ongoing charitable reward. It will be sadaqah jariyah. Allahu Akbar. Forever and ever, whoever benefits from that tree, not just eating, we can use that as an example. It's not just eating, it's benefiting from that tree. So yes, eating its fruits, definitely one clear example. A human or any other creature, the tradition tells us, that is truly amazing. It could be insects, it could be birds, it could be other animals. So eating is just one. Providing shade is another blessing of trees. If something, a creature benefits from that, also it will be sadaqah jariyah, a continual reward. Also, what other benefits do trees provide? Well, they emit oxygen. That's a big benefit for us all. How about simply the beauty? When we see the natural beauty, and I said before, alhamdulillah, you are so blessed in this country to have so much natural beauty, then again, it's providing a benefit to human beings. some element of tranquility and happiness and peace in their hearts. And this also becomes sadaqah jariyah. It's an ongoing reward, truly amazing. So sadaqah jariyah by planting a tree. Another prophetic tradition. If the day of resurrection is imminent, is about to happen, okay? The day of resurrection. And the Prophet says, one of you has in his hands a sapling, right? A small tree. Then, if it's possible for him, he should plant that tree even if resurrection happens. Allahu Akbar. What does this tell us? That even if everything is about to be destroyed and the resurrection, Qiyamah is going to come about, you still have the opportunity to plant a sapling, then you should do it. It's showing the importance of planting trees. It doesn't matter if it's actually going to last or not. The aim and the idea behind this tradition is importance. How much importance there is to planting trees. And also it goes to show that how much emphasis is being placed. In fact, in other traditions from the Imams, we have traditions that say that you should not fell and cut down trees unnecessarily. So this was just one area of spiritual stewardship, spiritual ecology and environmental stewardship from the hadith. And we will now move on to look at that second question, which is looking at the verses relating to the story of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, and to see what lessons on spiritual ecology and environmental stewardship we can get from his story, and how he dealt with the flood through the building of the ark. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the first verse, we'll look at, there's 4 altogether. We'll go through them fairly quickly and we'll derive lessons as we've been doing throughout this Majalis series. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Nabi Nuh that when this flood is about to come, right, the deluge, وَاصْنَعِ الْفُلْكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا وَوَحْيِنَا, that build the ark under our supervision, under our gaze, and based on our guidance. What is this telling us about environmental stewardship? Let's look at this in some depth. Firstly, supervision and with his support and revelatory teachings. Wahyina, wahy of course is revelation. It means that all efforts must align with Allah's wish and Allah's will. He says that make this ark, but don't just make it how you want to make it. Make it based on our supervision and our guidance. So we are told in the traditions that he spent so long trying to guide people. You all know that in the Quran it's mentioned 950 years Nabi Nuh ala nabina wa alihi wa alayhi salam tried to guide his people. 950 years. How many people accepted his invitation to Allah? 80. And if you do the math, or maths as we would say, it works out to only around 12 people, every person, one person every 12 years. One person every 12 years. So that in itself is a huge lesson, especially for us who are trying to, do things like tabligh-wise. But apart from that, when he's about 800 years old, 1,800 years old, because he spent 950 years just guiding him, he's 1,800 years now, he gets this. He gets this command that build the ark. And this actually was the first time that a human being would build a vessel that would float on water. In any case, this is telling us that all environmental efforts must be done under the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his teachings, the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. And we are looking at these teachings to help us. So that's the first lesson. It's not just any old way of doing things. No, under his guidance and according to his teachings. So Nabi Nuh, he built everything about the ark according to divine guidance. Its dimensions, length, width, breadth, height, all of it was done according to Allah's commands. The wood that He used, even the way it was constructed, what should go where, and the shapes of things, and how to put things together, it was all done by Allah's guidance. So that's the first thing. Environmental efforts must be done in accordance and in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will and wishes. The second lesson that we get from this is that we have to recognize all efforts at the end of the day are in the hands of Allah to bring them to fruition. We can do loads of efforts, but He says that under our guidance and our supervision and teachings, it tells us we have to recognize Allah's role in all of these things and remain humble. This is another lesson. It's not always what we want to do, yes, it'll happen. No, at the end of the day, it's all Allah's will. Does it happen or not? Thirdly, being ready and proactive when we are facing imminent environmental crises. So if something is going to happen, and we can actually foretell because things are becoming worse and worse. I'll give you some examples later that I read about what happened here in Canada just last month with the heat wave. It was truly astonishing. But in any case, it's telling us that all of these things require preparation. When did He tell him to make the ark? Was it when it started raining and started coming from the ground, all the water? In advance. Being prepared, preparing in advance, not starting when it all happens, making sure we are doing things. Okay, we're not going to build an ark where everyone's going to come in, but doing other things that will prepare ourselves for the environmental crisis that is being observed. Let's move on to the next verse. Verse number 27 of Surah Mu'minun. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْلُكْ فِيهَا مِنْ كُلٍّ زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ وَأَهْلَكَ. Take on board a pair, one male and one female of every species along with your family. Well, this is very clear. The lesson here, of course, is biodiversity. He says that all the creatures, every single species, male and female, needs to be preserved. Why? Why not only, let's say, some of them that probably can be eaten or ridden, right? Why all creatures? This is an amazing lesson in biodiversity. We saw how Nabi Sulaiman was so respectful to the ant, and we gave lots of examples there, and we took lots of lessons of being respectful for all of God's creation. It's telling us the same thing. They all have intrinsic value. They all contribute to the overall ecosystem, and it affects us and others. We are all living using the same resources, us and the other living creatures. And so it's teaching us all God's creatures have intrinsic value and they need to be respected. Biodiversity. These are things that we certainly need to take more care about. The next verse. Again, back to Surah Hud. Verse number 41. وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ مَجْرَاهَا وَمُرْسَاهَا. Prophet Nuh said, board it in the name of God, it will sail and anchor. This is also very clear, inshallah, what the lesson here is. And that is starting these environmental efforts in the name of God. It has to be linked with spirituality, it has to be spiritual ecology. He says, start it, like he wants to start and end. Look at what he says, board it, and then at the end, it will sail, it will anchor, it will go on its way throughout the journey, start and finish. He wants to make sure it's with Allah. Bismillah. And therefore, all environmental efforts must have this spiritual mindset. That whatever I'm doing, planting a tree or cleaning up my car park, or I'll give you some other examples later on, all of these efforts, qurbatan ilallah, to get closer to God, to make Him happy. Bismillah. And then you pick up the litter. Then you plant the tree. Then you do some recycling, some composting, or whatever the case might be. So spiritual mindset. Then he goes on to say that when started in the name of Allah, it will sail and it will then anchor as well, is telling us that our stewardship is totally in the hands of Allah, isn't it? Boarded in the name of God. So it means trusting in God. Boarded in the name of God means I must have tawakkul, because He's the one who's ultimately going to make it happen or not. He's going to determine everything. So it means our stewardship, all of our efforts will always be in the hands ultimately of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for its results. And then moving on to the final verse, Surah Hud 48. Now, look at this last part. This is truly remarkable for us to bear in mind. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, قِيلَ يَا نُحْبِطْ بِسَلَامٍ مِنَّا وَبَرَكَاتٍ عَلَيْكَ وَعَلَىٰ أُمَمٍ مِّمَّنْ مَعَكَ. Here, we need to look at it a little bit carefully. Look at the translation, O Nuh, disembark with peace from us and blessings upon you and upon the nations to come from those with you, i.e. the descendants of Prophet Nuh's followers. Now, here we have a very important lesson which might not be so evident, and hence I've added some words in square brackets which are not there in the verse itself, in the Arabic, but it's more like a tafsiri comment. So, look at the wording, mimman ma'ak. That means the ones who, he's using first of all. Is plural of ummah, right? Not nation, nations. But he's just referring to Nabi Nuh and his followers, isn't he? Is he or not? By using instead of ummah, nations instead of nation, he's referring to future peoples. He's referring to us and all the descendants of the survivors of the flood. So here is a very important lesson, that this address is also for us. What is the address? Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings are on Nabi Nuh and his followers and the nations that are in line with Nabi Nuh's values. So today, 2024, here in Kitchener, for example, this verse applies to us. We will also derive and benefit from the peace and blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what greater reward there is there than the peace and blessings of Allah to come on us if we are regarded as being the followers of Nabi Nuh. How can we be the followers of Nabi Nuh today when he lived all those centuries ago? By aligning ourselves with his values. When we align ourselves with his values, we are effectively following in his footsteps. We are the followers of him. And inshallah, we will also benefit from the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, let's move on and examine the third question. How did Imam Hussein alayhi salam echo these teachings in his actions? Well, for this, I will refer you to that same story that I mentioned a few nights ago, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam gave water to those horses, right, that were actually from the enemy soldiers. So just to put it in context once again, and see how it fits in now, because now I want to develop it in a slightly different way and add more depth and detail. So you will recall that in that place called Dhu Husam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his followers, they had got there before the army that was sent by Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Who was it led by? It was led by Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. At that time, he wasn't with Imam Hussein, of course. He became with Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura. But then he's with his his troops, and we are told there are about 1,000 of them. So no small number. They come after Imam Hussein has reached that place. So Imam Hussein has control of that area, and he has access to water. When Imam Hussein sees them and their horses, how thirsty they look, he gives a command to his people to quench their thirst, give them water, and to quench the thirst of their horses. And so this is what they do one by one. But he says, when you give the horses water, give them it sip by sip. Now, this is very significant for us to bear in mind when it comes to environmental stewardship. So sip by sip. And then I even mentioned last time how that one late person came. Imam Hussein told him how to drink from the water skin. He didn't quite understand. And so Imam Hussein himself got up and showed him how to, fold the head of that water skin and to drink it like that, because it was all dribbling down his face and it was being wasted. So now, what lessons do we derive from this? Well, first of all, I just want to compare it briefly with those who are the followers of Shaitan. You have the pure followers of God, then you have the pure followers of Shaitan. How did they deal with the resource of water when they were in control? Umar ibn Sa'ad, when he had control of the Euphrates in Karbala, did he give this type of access to Abu Abdullah? Of course not. Not even his animals. They wouldn't even give them one drop of water. Whereas, look at the difference. Pure servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pure servants of Shaitan. These servants, totally observant of their duties towards Allah, the environment, to all creatures, human and non-human. These are just following in the footsteps of Shaitan, being stingy, greedy, and extremely oppressive. Another example, we perhaps should not be surprised at all that Umar ibn Sa'd did this, because what did Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan do in the battle of Siffin? Same thing. In the battle of Siffin, Muawiyah managed to get control of the river. So then he denied Imam Ali alayhi salam access to water. So then when Imam Ali gained access to the water, his followers said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, when Muawiyah had access, he didn't give us any water. Let's do the same. Let's withhold water from Muawiyah and his people. What did Mawla Amir say? He said, no, this is not something that I will do. And he demonstrated in his practice the principles of humanity and justice and compassion to others. So now, Abu Abdullah, of course, following in the footsteps of his blessed father, enabled all the horses and the people to be quenched. So there's a request for everyone to come forward. Please, can you all move forward with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, one of the lessons we can gain from this part, sip by sip, is very careful resource management. That's amazing. Sip by sip just seems, a small thing, but it's actually very important. It teaches us how careful Abu Abdullah was with regard to scarce resources. Of course, they're in the desert. Water is so valuable in any place, but especially in the desert. And yet he says sip by sip, meaning so it's not wasted and it's distributed fairly. So this is another lesson we get. Fair distribution. Let's reflect. Who is doing this around the world? When they have control of resources, are they acting like Umar ibn Sa'd's army and Muawiyah's army, or are they acting like Abu Abdullah did? Then we really know where the lines are to be drawn. So it shows that when you have access, you should give and share. Share fairly, because perhaps There might have been some horses, like you always find in animals, some are stronger than others, some are more aggressive than others. And so you might have a few horses which, because of their strength, they kind of bully the others and they take all the water. Abu Abdullah says, sip by sip. So every horse gets some. They gave each one 4 or 5 gulps of water, moved on to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So this sip by sip is very significant. Another lesson is compassion to the animals. When a horse or an animal in general is extremely thirsty, and then it comes across water and it wants to gulp up all the water very quickly, it can be actually very harmful for that animal, because it can result in that animal getting colic. And this can be a major problem. So by gradually and slowly giving the horse water is actually benefiting that horse and taking care of its well-being. These are all huge lessons from this one statement of sip by sip. And of course, finally, just like we saw last time with Nabi Sulaiman and the ant, and also how Nabi Nuh brought in a pair of all animals, it's showing compassion to all creatures, in understanding that they all have this inherent value and they all play a role in Allah's overall plan and the system that He has created. So inshallah, these are the lessons we can derive from this very important incident. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And finally, the fourth question: how can we incorporate these teachings in our lives? Like I've been trying to do throughout these majalis, relating all of the teachings to our life today, especially in the Western world, and seeing how they can be applied to help us develop spiritually and in line with the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. The first thing we can do, so there are 8 things we can do. There are actually many, many more, but I've selected 8 based on the time that is available. Reduce waste, israf. So lots of things can be done here. Recycling, composting, using biodegradable materials, not one-off things that just go into landfill like plastics, and making sure waste is reduced. This is extremely important. You know, how many times do we see israf being done? There's so many teachings in the Quran and in the Hadith about israf. It's a ungrateful attitude to take towards the resources that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided us with. Another thing that we can certainly do, so number 2, conserve water. Now, there's a number of things that we can do here. So, first of all, using water efficiently, not wasting it, repairing leaks. Sometimes there's leaks, it happens everywhere, and you see tons of water just being wasted. But also, when we are performing some of our rituals, like wudu, this is something that we all see. And unfortunately, Muslims waste a lot of water, even when they are trying to do something wajib or mustahab, like wudu and ghusl. They're doing it to get closer to Allah, isn't it? Right? They're being obedient, but at the same time, they are wasting so much water. How much water does it take to do wudu? 3 handfuls maximum. 3 handfuls. 1 handful face. 1 handful right arm, 1 handful left arm. That's it. So why is it that Muslims will wash their hands for ages and ages, right? And the tap is running. The tap was the first thing to go on. And then perhaps, I don't know, they might talk to someone, or I don't know, look at themselves in the mirror or whatever. The tap is running. Then while they're doing wudu, they don't shut off the tap. It's just running and running and running. And maybe a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it takes, they then perform their wudu and they think they're ready for salah, and alhamdulillah, they've done this thing that Allah wants them to do, and yet how much water have they wasted? 3 handfuls. So open the tap, 1 handful, close the tap, face. Open the tap, right? So now with the other hand, open the tap, one handful, right arm. Then with the other hand, open the tap, another handful, third handful, close the tap, other arm. That's it. You don't need to touch the tap again because you've got the rutuba, the moisture, mas, finished. 3 handfuls. In fact, I would even recommend, if it's a little bit tricky to start off with, have a cup. You can easily do wudu with 1 cup. Have a bowl or something and just use that. Don't use the tap because the tap is a bit tempting and it's easy to waste water. Don't use the tap and sink, right? Use the sink, but don't use the tap. Have a bowl or a cup or something. Even this, you can easily do wudu with that much. Easily. And therefore, same with ghusl, how much water is required for ghusl and for doing tahara of najasat and so on. If we think about it, we don't need much at all. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Planting trees. Well, we saw that earlier, right? Sadaqah jariyah. Alhamdulillah, plant a tree. Whichever creature eats from it, benefits from it, we will have that continual, ongoing reward, which will benefit from in the hereafter, inshallah. 4, sustainable living, renewable energy, reducing carbon footprints and supporting eco-friendly products, right? Remember, we are the Khalifas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we need to pay attention to this. Now, I said I'll mention something about what happened here a month ago, right? You all experienced, the whole of Eastern Canada had this massive heat wave, right? Last month. I was just reading in the Waterloo Record newspaper, just the other day, in fact, that there was an astonishing research done. That when they looked into this, they found that this heat wave was between 2 and 10 times more likely because of climate change. That heat wave last month was between 2 and 10 times more likely because of climate change. So climate change is causing us all sorts of problems. And by living sustainably and renewing energy and reducing carbon footprint, etc., we can certainly reduce that issue. Educate and advocate. So raise awareness within the community like mimbar, mihrab, madrasa, and advocate for environmental policies as well. Support these policies that advocate environmental stewardship. Support ethical businesses. I've said that before with regard to meat. Why give our money to farmers and other companies and businesses that don't trade ethically? If they are being wasteful, then let's not give our money to them. And soon either they will go bankrupt or they will change their ways. Community involvement, community cleanup. In one go, youths or others can go clean up the area and engage in conservation projects. One very good community project I know about, there are many, is the Ali Asghar Water Appeal. This is a fantastic project. And of course, tonight we are commemorating the blessed young baby, Ali Asghar, and this is named after him, the Ali Asghar Water Appeal. It provides wells and water sanitation in India, Pakistan, and Kenya. It's really a worthwhile project. They give you regular reports. They even give you a GPS location. And if you click it, it tells you exactly where the well is built. You'll have photos sent to you. You can also have a plaque there that this well has been provided by such and such family, or for the sawab of the marhumin of such and such family. So this is a very good project, and there are many others. And finally, reflecting on consumption. How much do we actually need to consume? Being mindful of that. Whenever we overconsume food, drink, energy, it leads to environmental problems. It has a knock-on effect. Let's just be a bit more mindful. Do we really need to have that extra bite or keep those lights on in the house? All of these takes energy and uses resources that, inshallah, could be used so much better elsewhere. So as a summary, the 4 questions that we asked were, first of all, what does the Quran and Hadith tell us? Or what is environmental stewardship and spiritual ecology. I gave some examples of it, looking after the world and linking it with spirituality based on the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. Then, what lessons can we derive from Noah or Prophet Nuh and the ark? So many important lessons from those 4 verses. Thirdly, how does Imam Hussein demonstrate this, or how does he echo this in his practice? We saw that when he said sip by sip, referring to how the horses should be given water, and then these 8 ways that we can implement these teachings to help us live sustainably and responsibly in the modern world. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Someone has requested for dua that they're imprisoned unjustly in Australia because of a baby passed away and in custody. If you can just would you do a general dua?
Yeah. So there's a very important request. Someone has been imprisoned and they've requested du'as for their release. And it seems that there's been a lot of issues involved with this that has put that person in, and their family, of course, in a lot of difficulty. And it's a very tragic way of, dealing with the issue at hand. It wasn't done fairly, and therefore they've requested du'as. So please, let's all recite this verse 5 times. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amman yujibul mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su. Amman yujibul mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su. Amman yujibul mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ صلوا على محمد وآل محمد صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. Tonight, let's take our hearts to the land of Karbala, when on this night, the night of Ashura in the year 61 AH, Aba Abdullah alayhi salam is with his companions and family members for the last time. It's reported that the army of Umar ibn Sa'd actually wanted to attack Aba Abdullah's camp on the 9th of Muharram. But Abu Abdullah sends his loyal brother Abul Fazl Abbas to talk to them. And he says that request them for one more night. To do what? So that we can pray to God and we can recite our supplications and we can read the Quran and seek forgiveness. They stayed up all night, and this is a lesson as well for us all on this night of Ashura, to engage in worship and istighfar and reciting of the Quran. On this night, he addresses his companions and his family members. He says, I know of no companions more righteous than you, and I know of no family members better than my family members. So may Allah reward you all on my behalf. And then he says, go, use the blackness of the night, and I don't need to see anyone going. Just go yourselves and take one of my family members. At that time, there's an overwhelming expression of support. The companions say that we will never leave you, Abu Abdullah. But I say this was not just in words. For on the day of Ashura, they showed it in their practice. They showed it with their limbs and their lives, how loyal they were. I'll just give you a few examples. So we have Muslim ibn Awsaja, this great companion. Look at his loyalty on the day of Ashura. As he's breathing his last breath, he turns to his friend Habib ibn Mudahir and he says, I only want you to defend Imam Hussein till he dies. And also Sa'id ibn Abdullah, the one who acted as a human shield for Abu Abdullah when he was reciting his Dhuhr, who had 13 arrows planted in his body. As he fell, what did he say? He addresses Abu Abdullah and he says, have I fulfilled my obligation? These are the companions that Abu Abdullah Abdullah addressed on this night. But now I say, my brothers and sisters, let's turn our attention to what happened on the day of Ashura. On the day of Ashura, Abu Abdullah sees that he's all by himself. He looks to the left, there's no one there to help him. He looks to the right, there's no one there to help him. And now he says these lines, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, Hal min dhabin yadhubu an harami Rasulillah. Is there any defender to defend the family of the Prophet? Nobody replies. But some say actually there was one reply. For there was a cradle in one of the tents. And they say that this cradle actually rocked a little bit. It was as if Ali Asghar was saying, oh my father, don't forget me. I am also your soldier. I will help you. As the ladies heard these words of Abu Abdullah, they all started wailing. Though the mothers had given their sons on the day. So the holy ladies, they had all given sons. Lady Zainab had given Aoun and Muhammad. Ramla had given Qasim. Also, we see that Baneen had given 4 of her sons, including Hazrat Abul Fazl Abbas. So many of these mothers had given their sons away. But there was now Rabab. And she was a mother who would soon give her son away as well. These mothers, let's pay homage to them on such a night as well. Because even Layla had given Ali Akbar. Abu Abdullah now, he looks, there's no one around. And so he knows he has to go and say farewell for the last time to his baby son Ali Asghar. He says to his wife Rabab that bring my young baby to me. A 6-month-old baby. Just imagine. Abu Abdullah, he takes him in his arms. According to one report, Ali Asghar is martyred right there and then. But another report says Imam Hussein takes Ali Asghar in his arms. He brings him onto the battlefield. Mu'mineen, do you know what's happening here? It's the last soldier of Abu Abdullah entering the battlefield. It's the youngest soldier of Abu Abdullah. And just like all the other soldiers who had a battle cry, Ali Asghar also had a battle cry. His battle cry was his crying for thirst. Abu Abdullah addresses the enemy. He says that if you don't have mercy on me, then have mercy on this baby. At that point, Hurmala takes an arrow. Hurmala takes an arrow. It's reported that this arrow wasn't an ordinary one. It was a 3-pronged arrow, mu'mineen. You know what these arrows were used for? They were used for slaughtering camels, because the neck of a camel is so thick, it needed to have such an arrow shot into it. But look what it did to the tender neck of this 6-month-old baby. Hurmala draws the arrow. Now, mu'mineen, you all know in Arabic the word for slaughter is dhibah. The narrator uses the same word to describe what the arrow did to the neck of Ali Asghar. فَذَبَحَ, it slaughtered him. Abu Abdullah, now how can he take this slaughtered baby of his back to the tent? How can he face Rabab? And so now the blood is dripping down his chest from Ali Asghar's neck. As he goes towards the camp, he hesitates. He can't take the baby to his mother. And he goes back. Again, he goes forward, he goes back. He says this, he does this 7 times. As he does so, he recites, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He says, Ridhan bi qada'i wa tasliman li amri. We accept his decree and we surrender to his command. And now Abu Abdullah, Finally, he takes the scabbard of his sword and he digs a small grave with his sword. Just imagine how tiny this grave was. And then he buries Ali Asghar there. But I say, perhaps it was so that the women and the children would no longer have to see this horrible sight. Or perhaps it's so that the tiny body of Ali Asghar would not be trampled under the horses. Or perhaps it was so that the tiny head of Ali Asghar would not be placed on top of a spear. Allah la'natullah ala al-qawmi dhalimin. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. Oh Allah, by the right of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, protect our Imam and hasten his appearance. Oh Allah, enable us to live sustainably and follow in the footsteps of the great prophets and the example of Abu Abdullah when it comes to environmental stewardship. Oh Allah, forgive us and our forefathers for our sins, and oh Allah, bring relief to all those facing difficulty around the world. Matame Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
آتے ہیں اصغر علی کھوہ میں نہائے ہوئے، موت کی ہچکی لگی کھوہ میں نہائے ہوئے، مٹھیاں دونوں بندھے سینے کے اوپر دھری، آنکھیں کھلی کچھ رہی کھوہ میں نہائے ہوئے، مارتے ہیں دستوں پا ڈھونڈتے ہیں سرنسا، جاتے ہیں پیش خدا کھوہ میں نہائے ہوئے، من کا ڈھلا ہے ہوا دم بھی ہے اکھڑا ہوا، سینے میں الجھا ہوا کھوہ میں نہائے ہوئے، آتے ہیں اصغر علی کھوہ میں نہائے ہوئے، آنکھیں کبھی کھول کے شیخ کی طرف یاس سے روکے ہو کیا دیکھتے کھوہ میں نہائے ہوئے، گل ہوا ہے بیویوں آتے ہیں اصغر علی، آخری جان کے زندہ پسر بانو چلی لینے کو رہ گئی بس دیکھ کر کنویں میں نہائے ہوئے زندگی اس ماں کی کیا جن کا بسر چاند سا آتے متی یوں بلا کنویں میں نہائے ہوئے آتے ہیں اصغر علی کنویں میں نہائے ہوئے موت کی ہچکی لگی کنویں میں نہائے ہوئے قدم سے یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین.
اے مومنو جب خون میں ڈوبا ہوا آیا اصغر کا جنازہ اے مومنو جب خون میں ڈوبا ہوا آیا اصغر کا جنازہ شبیر نے رو رو کے گلے سے لگایا اصغر کا جنازہ اے مومنو جب خون میں ڈوبا اصغر کا جنازہ شبیر نے رو رو کے کلے جیسے لگایا اصغر کا جنازہ خیمے کی طرف روتے ہوئے آئے شہیدی شرمندہ و غمگی کس یاس سے منہ پھیر کے بانو کو دکھایا اصغر کا جنازہ اے مومنو ڈوبا ہوا آیا اصغر کا جنازہ شبیر نے رو رو کے کلیجے سے لگایا اصغر کا جنازہ یہ سن کے ہوا رونے کا گل اہل حرم سے معصوم کے غم میں یوں رو کے ہر ایک بی بی نے آنکھوں سے لگایا اصغر کا جنازہ اے مومنو جب خون میں ڈوبا ہوا آیا اصغر کا جنازہ شبیر نے رو رو کے کلیجے سے لگایا اصغر کا جنازہ مقتل میں کوئی صاحب اولاد جو ہوتا معاشرے ہوتا پانی کے عوض عشق شہدی میں نہایا اصغر کا جنازہ اے مومنو جب خون میں ڈوبا ہوا آیا اصغر کا جنازہ شبیر نے رو رو کے کلیجے سے لگایا اصغر کا جنازہ یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. مقتل میں ڈھونڈتی ہے اصغر کو سکینہ مقتل میں ڈھونڈتی ہے اصغر کو سکینہ جھولا بھی ملا خالی جھولا بھی ملا خالی اصغر تا کہیں نہ اصغر تا کہیں نہ مقتل میں ڈھونڈتی ہے اصغر کو سکینہ کیسے پیوں میں پانی پانی میں بھی تم ہو تمہیں ڈھونڈوں کیسے اصغر تم ریت میں گم ہو تم سے بچھڑ کے بھیا تم سے بچھڑ کے بھیا نہیں بہن کو جینا نہیں بہن کو جینا
مقتل میں جونجتی ہے اصغر کو سکینہ، چھوٹی سی قبر دیکھی معصومان جس دم، باہوں میں اسے لے کے کرنے لگی ماتم، خالی قبر پڑی تھی، خالی قبر پڑی تھی، اور گمتا نگینا، اور گمتا نگینا، مقتل میں جونجتی ہے اصغر کو، پلکوں پہ در غم کے تم لوگوں سجاؤ، ماتم کو تم وسیلہ بخشش کا بناؤ، ہے مثل کشتی نوح، ہے مثل کشتی نوح، پنجتن کا سفینہ، پنجتن کا سفینہ، مقتل میں جونجتی ہے اصغر کو سکینہ، جس طرح ظالموں نے نیزے میں پرویا، یہ دیکھ روئی دھرتی عنبر بھی ترویا، خورشید کو پھر بھولا، خورشید کو پھر بھولا، منظر وہ کبھی نہ، منظر وہ کبھی نہ، مقتل میں جونجتی ہے اصغر کو سکینہ، یا حسین 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 یا
محمد وآل محمد صلوات آب زمزم قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلاست، آب زمزم قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلا، تربت کرب و بلا سرچشمه عین و شفاست، آب زمزم
قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلا،
بقعه شاه شهیدان جنت المأوا شده، بقعه شاه شهیدان جنت المأوا شده، رتبه اش بر سرز اوج و قرب و ادنا شده، گنبت زرین او از عرش هموالا شده، فوق تحت قوه‌اش حاجت روای هر دو است، آب زمزم قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلا، تربت کرب و بلا چشمه عین و شفا، چون کبوترها ملائک دور قبرش میپرد، چون کبوترها ملائک دور قبرش میپرد، آدم و نوح و نبی مهرش به نقص جان میخرد، یوسف از گلزار حسنی او گلی با خود برد، زان که حسنش صورت آینه حسن خداست، آب زمزم قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلا، تربت کرب و بلا چشمه عین و شفا، سینه زنهای تو هستیم یا حسین ابن علی، سینه ما گلستان مهر تو باشد آن گلی، بر سر شاخ گلت هر سینه زن چون بلبلی، صیقل عشق بکایت بهر این دلها جزاست، آب زمزم قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلا، تربت کرب و بلا سرچشمه عین و نشا، قطره‌ای اشکی اگر ریزد کسی در ماتمت، یا دیگر جمعی بگریاند ز پیش و از کمت، یا کسی غمگین شود از داغ جان سوز غمت، جایشان در کوثر تو باب خلد با صفاست، آب زمزم قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلا، تربت کرب و بلا چشمه عین و شفا، آب زمزم قطره‌ای از جویبار کربلا، دل بیاد کربلایت یا حسین پر میزند دل بیاد کربلایت یا حسین پر میزند جبرائیل اندر حریمت مشک و عنبر میزند صبح و دم تا آفتاب از چرخ بر سر میزند بر درت نالد جمی گو منبع نور و ضیات آب زمزم قطره‌ای از یبار کربلا تربت کرب و بلا در چشمه عین و شفاست آب زمزم قطره‌ای از یبار کربلا یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
جاده را است مهیاست بیا تا برویم کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم جاده را است مهیاست بیا تا برویم کربلا منتظر بیا راستہ ہم کو شہادت کا بہاتر سے ملا عزم کتنا ہمیں زخم علی اکبر سے ملا خون کتنا ہمیں عباس سے دلاور سے ملا حوصلہ فوج و خنن علی اصغر سے ملا کتنے مولا کے ہیں احسان بیا تا برویم کربلا منتظر بیا تا برویم جاده را است بیا تا برویم کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم راہ پر خار ہے دشوار ہے چلنے کے لیے کچھ سہارا نہیں گرتے کو سنبھلنے کے لیے منتظر خون ہے گردن سے نکلنے کے لیے گھوڑے تیار ہیں لاشوں کو کچلنے کے لیے شاہ ہے آپ کے مہمان بیا کربلا منتظر ماست تشنہ لب لوگوں کے یہ خون کا دریا دیکھو ٹکڑے ٹکڑے جو ہے قاسم کے یہ لاشا دیکھو بائی عباس کے یہ دست بریداں دیکھو لاش اصغر لیے یہ کون ہے تنہا دیکھو بر گیا لاشوں سے میدان بیا کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم جاده را یاست بیا کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم وہ یزیدی جو تے دنیا کی ہوس کے مارے کر دیے دین کے احکام معطل سارے فرش پر ٹوٹ گئے عرش خدا کے تارے خاک اور خون میں غلطا تھا وہ بکھرے پارے نو کے نیزہ پہ ہے قرآن بیا تا برویم کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم جاده را است مهیاست بیا تا برویم کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم کوئی ایزا نہ پہنچ پائے نبی کے گھر کو راہ شبیر میں ہم اب بھی کٹا دے سر کو تیر لگ جائے نہ حرمل کا علی اصغر کو کوئی برچی نہیں لگ جائے علی اکبر کو جان پر وار دو تم جان بیا کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم جاده را است مهیاست بیا تا برویم کربلا منتظر ماست بیا تا برویم یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین.
The desert is so quiet, there's a deathly calm. The desert is so quiet, there's a deathly calm. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. The desert is so quiet, there's a deathly calm. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. I heard that they gave you an arrow when all you asked for was some water. Oh, Asghar, you were bathed in blood. Oh, Asghar, you were bathed in blood. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. The desert is so quiet, there's a deathly calm. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. I only want to ask one question. To the waters of River Furat, couldn't you spare some water for my son? Couldn't you spare some water for my son? The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. The desert is so quiet, there's a deathly calm. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. Come, let me change your blood-soaked clothes. Let me cradle you in my arms. What did they do to my mujahid? What did they do to our mujahid? The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. The desert is so quiet, there's a deathly calm. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. I see your radiant face, the thirst on your lips. I couldn't even give you any milk. All my life I'll never forget. All my life I'll never forget. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. The desert is so quiet, there's a deathly calm. The night is so dark, don't be scared, Asghar. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
علي راح يا زينب قوم سنديني. علي راح، علي راح، تعالوا عاونيني نشد الجراح. علي راح، علي راح، يا زينب قومي سنديني. علي راح، علي راح، تعالوا عاونيني نشد الجراح. اشيل شلون لامه اخاف تموت امه. اشيل شلون لما اخاف تموت امه. اخاف تموت امه. وعلي راح، اخاف تموت امه. وعلي راح. تعالي يا اختي تعالي لي، تعالي انقطع راس الولد يا اختي. تعالي يا اختي زينب تعالي لي، انقطع راس الولد يا اختي قبالي. تعالوا عاونيني بهذا حالي، تعالوا عاونيني بهذا حالي. انكتب قدامي تذبح عيالي، انكتب قدامي تذبح عيالي. اي علي راح، اجيتك بس ادق الراح بالراح. علي راح، شفتهم قطعوه قبالي برماح. علي راح، علي راح، اجيتك بس ادق الراح بالراح. علي راح، علي راح، شفتهم قطعوه قبالي برماح. دليل امه من الجمه اخاف تموت يمه، اخاف تموت يمه. وعلي راح، علي. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
يا حسين، يا حسين، يا حسين.
A sweet baby in a battlefield, not in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar, a sweet baby in a battlefield, not in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar, a sweet baby in a battlefield, not in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar, a sweet baby in a battlefield, not in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar. The call of Haman was all too clear. I was terrified, you had no fear. I was terrified, you had no fear. Such a brave heart in someone so small. Well, what's the courage from? Oh my Asghar, a sweet baby in a battlefield, not in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar, your father came back, his shoulders shredded, walking to and fro, blood in his beard, walking to and fro, blood in his beard. What did happen there? Can someone tell me? Why didn't you come back? Oh my Asghar, a sweet baby in a battlefield, in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar, I was not able to feed you for many days. I had no food or water for many days. I had no food or water for many days. But only after Shame Gariba did I have milk. Oh my Asghar, a sweet baby in a battlefield, not in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar, I had a dream that you would grow up to, truthful and pious, like all around you. Truthful and pious, like all around you. I had pictured you next to your father, just like Akbar. Oh my Asghar, a sweet baby in a battlefield, not in a mother's dream. Oh my Asghar.
این شب ماتم حسینا لاچار 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 حسینا این شب ماتم حسینا لاچار 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 حسینا این شب ماتم حسینا لاچار 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 حسینا این شب ماتم حسینا لاچار حسینا این شب ماتم حسینا لاچار لاچار حسینا یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین و محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
Inshallah, brothers and sisters, we have a few minutes, inshallah, before the adhan. I'll encourage my brothers and sisters to help lay out their prayer mats. Again, we're entering upon the night of preceding Ashura. As it has been recommended, this is indeed a difficult, a tragic night. Again, understand what the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam are going through. I won't make any announcements, just reminders, inshallah, for donations as it was mentioned. And inshallah, for tomorrow, the Amal of Ashura will start at 11 a.m. over here. And it will conclude with the Salat al-Dhuhrain. And then after Salat al-Dhuhrain, we will have the Maqtal Majlis. There's limited parking on site available. What we've sent out in the email, either you can park across around the IHS at the back. There's Daniel Avenue that you can access. We've pinpointed the location. You can park over there. Make sure you're not blocking anyone's driveway or front yard or parking on anyone's personal property. Or we'll also be available to park in the Bridgeport sports field along Bridge Street. We will provide shuttle service. You can drop your family here, and inshallah we have shuttle volunteers who will pick and drop you off back to your car and from your car, inshallah, to the Husayniyah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Also, just make note of the weather. It is expected to rain tomorrow. So make sure you have an umbrella or a rain jacket, inshallah, just so that you can walk from there to the Husayniyah, inshallah.
prepare without, yeah. Okay. So just move it forward then. Maybe the movement prepare.
We'll be giving the adhan inshallah shortly. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن علي حجة الله هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح هيا على خير العمل هيا على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله
عليه وآله مستقرا وقرارا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله محمد أشهد أن محمد رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن عليا ولي الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. يا محسن قد أتاك المسيء وقد أمرت محسن أن يتجاوز عن المسيء. أنت المحسن وأنا المسيء، فبحق محمد وآل محمد صل على محمد وآل محمد وتجاوز عن قبيح ما تعلم مني. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربنا. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته ورفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك الراحة عند الموت والعفو عند الحساب. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. أفضل الذكر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين. جعلنا الله وإياكم من الطالبين بثاره مع إمام منصور من أهل بيته الكرام. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك، لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم شافي وعافي كل مريض بحق مولانا الإمام زين العابدين. اللهم اقضي حوائج المحتاجين بحق باب الحوائج موسى بن جعفر. اللهم يا رب الحسين، اللهم يا رب الحسين، اللهم يا رب الحسين اشفي صدر الحسين بظهور الحجة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد إلى شرف النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وآل بيته الأطهار، وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات وأرواح أموات الحاضرين. رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد أشهد أن عليا ولي الله صلى الله عليه أشهد أن عليا حجة الله صلى الله عليه حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله يا محسن قد أتاك المسيء وقد أمرت محسنا أن تجاوز عن المسيء أنت المحسن وأنا المسيء وبحق محمد وآل محمد صل على محمد وآل محمد وتجاوز عن قبيح ما تعلم مني استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد كذلك الله ربنا الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام رب صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته وارفع درجته بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله والحمد استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. ربي صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. محمد وآل محمد. الله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إنه ليس لي علم بموضع رزقي، وإنما أطلبه بخطرات تخطر على قلبي، فأجول في طلبه البلدان، فأنا فيما أنا طالب كالحيران، لا أدري أفي سهل هو أم في جبل، أم في أرض أم في سماء، أم في بر أم في بحر، وعلى يدي من ومن قبلي من. وقد علمت أن علمه عندك وأسبابه بيدك، وأنت الذي تقسمه بلطفك وتسببه برحمتك. اللهم فصل على محمد وآله، واجعل يا ربي رزقك لي واسعا، ومطلبه سهلا، ومأخذه قريبا، ولا تعنني بطلب ما لم تقدر لي فيه رزقا، فإنك غني عن عذابي وأنا فقير إلى رحمتك. فصل على محمد وآله وجد على عبدك بفضلك، إنك ذو فضل عظيم.
زيارة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثارح والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات، فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانه، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرة، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا عبد الله، يا أبا، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قتلك ونصب لك الحرب، وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم، وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم، وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب، وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم، وولي لمن والاكم، وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة، وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة، وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله، وأن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم، وأسأل الله بحقكم وبشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته، مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقام هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد، ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن الآكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله، في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية، عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم، وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد، وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن نصابة التي جاحدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد اللهم خس أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا ثم الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانا وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجدة. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين، لك على مصاب بهم، الحمد لله على عظيم الرزية. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. Everybody together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل الساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. الفاتحة.
صل على محمد وآل محمد. Just a reminder, inshallah, tomorrow our Ashura program will be starting at 11 a.m. inshallah at the IHS Center, 11 a.m. inshallah.